Ashe, God folks, good folks. Hopefully everybody is doing good. Hopefully everybody is doing them in the most bona fide way that they know how, right? I just wanted to talk about a couple things, address a couple things that I feel need to be said, because I guess that's kind of like the wave that I've been on. There's a lot of brilliant minds. There are a lot of sharp individuals that's been talking about spirituality and ego, and people have said a lot of similar things to what as they have said a lot of similar things as what I'm about to say regarding ego and spirituality. And then people are saying things that I feel is contrary to my beliefs or my views as it relates to ego and spirituality. So my first thoughts about individuals talking about someone said, I don't know who the chick is, but she said that people are becoming very egotistic in the spiritual community or in spirituality. I believe, just like a lot of sharp individuals have said, I've heard them and witnessed them say that ego is good for certain things, and you're supposed to have an ego for certain things. It serves its purpose, so let it serve its purpose. I absolutely agree with that. One thing that I wanted to pinpoint is a lot of people that try to tell individuals how to live their life, first and foremost, is quite annoying. And as far as having good intentions and trying to give someone advice or give them tips to better themselves, to help folks, to raise the consciousness, of course, that's cool, fine, and dandy, and it's much needed. But what I find interesting is how, there is, deep down, there's some people that genuinely have insecurities, and they genuinely don't want to see certain individuals win. They have jealous ways, they have envious ways, and they like to call out, people's confidence, or say like, oh yeah, well, they're egotistic, and they like to call out, people's confidence when an individual see that an individual has certain gifts and talents, and just certain things that they feel like will be an advantage to a certain individual. They try to water that down. It's just like, if they feel like an individual is highly intelligent or have a certain level of power or a certain level of influence, some people can see certain gifts and they can see certain great things and greatness in certain individuals, and they'll try to diminish that. They'll try to dim their light, and they'll try to silence them. Some people tell people to be humble because they don't want individuals to outshine them, if we're being honest. Yeah. Some individuals tell people to be humble because they don't want certain individuals to outshine them or for them to express their gifts. And when somebody is talking about individuals and their ego and talking about, spirituality has become egotistical or whatever, how is that hurting you? I feel like if an individual is, they're a confident individual, if they are confident and they are expressing that confidence, and they strong, and they a stand-up woman or a stand-up guy, they're being their authentic self and they're expressing that. Why is that a crime? What is wrong with that? I feel personally like, I'm gonna just say it, I feel like certain people's gifts and powers and their confidence threatens a lot of insecure and hating individuals in the world. And I think that's why people try to tell people to be humble. I think that's why they mistake they mistake people's confidence for arrogance. Yeah. And then they want to say, oh, well, you're egotistical or whatever. How come individuals can't just be free to be who they are, to be happy? And when an individual is happy and they're doing well, sometimes that is expressed in a certain level of confidence. But people say, oh, well, that's arrogant or whatever. Or it's ego. You know, they're in their ego. I mean, not to say that some people aren't assholes and some people aren't operating in their ego and they're not egotistical, or that some people aren't narcissists or some people aren't arrogant, because there are some people that are arrogant or whatever. But, you know, we live in a generation of where social media is influencing a lot of people, and especially the youth. And the world is a very tricky place where, you know, there's a lot of ugly and nasty people in the world. And if you don't have a certain level of confidence, well, you're going to be in a world of trouble. And sometimes that's what, you know, that's the purpose of the ego. It serves that purpose, to protect. Some people say you should operate in your divine feminine if you're a woman, and you should be soft and, you know, be feminine and be soft or whatever. And it's like, oh yeah, absolutely, we should be, you know, our divine frequency if you're a woman, which is feminine. But what people fail to realize is that certain circumstances, certain people, situations, and places dictate a certain type of energy. I am not going to be the same way with every single person, because I treat people accordingly. I have a different relationship with my siblings. I have a different relationship with my friends, and I have a different relationship in the way that I communicate with people, and you know, when it comes to professionalism. So, you know, it really depends on the circumstances. The circumstances dictate the type of energy or interaction an individual may get. You know, sometimes people have to use a certain level of confidence or ego to keep, you know, individuals who are insecure and want to feel like they're going to step on their toes or handle them a certain type of way. They have to have a certain type of level of confidence and a certain energy to deal with certain individuals, even if they're not dealing with them directly. Sometimes you just have to have a certain level of confidence to step out into the world, because like I said, the world can be a very tricky place. And if you don't have a certain level of confidence, there are prey out there, and they will try to prey on you, and they will swallow you up if you don't have a backbone. You know, my mom used to say that if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. And that's one of the realest things that she ever said. Another thing that I wanted to say as far as ego go is, or, you know, people saying, you know, ego and spirituality, or, you know, individuals wanting to make it seem like that you're supposed to be this, like a monk on a mountain where you have, you know, all of this peace and that you don't go through anything or whatever. We're very spiritual beings, but we're spiritual beings having a human experience. So, you know, if you're on a spiritual journey and you're focused on your spirituality and everything, that's, you know, that's cool, fine and dandy, and that's great. But you're still in a physical form, in a spiritual, you're still in the physical form, in the physical realm. So just by default, you know, you're going to be experiencing things in the physical form. And what does that come with? Oh, it comes with so many things. You know, the world is an imperfect place. It is perfectly imperfect. It is a beautiful disaster. So, you know, it's kind of irresponsible and it's kind of dangerous for individuals to try to make it seem like if you're spiritual that you're supposed to be some kind of perfect. Because then people have this, they have this false image, or these false expectations, unrealistic expectations. People tend to be too hard on themselves, and they can't live with themselves, or they can't live up to the picture of a so-called influencer or guru or whatever. It's always a blessing, and it's always a good thing to give people guidance, to give them advice, to give them the tools necessary to help them to get to the next level. But all of these unrealistic expectations is just, it's not helping. It's toxic. It's like toxic positivity. Talking about unrealistic expectations. All we could do is just try to be our best, right? Try to be better than how we was the day before. Every day that we wake up, live with the intent to be better. But all of that, oh yeah, well, people are doing this in the spiritual community, and they're doing that. As a human being, I am free to make mistakes. And I'm not saying this as if somebody's talking about me, because this is not a personal problem. I'm just speaking on, something that I came across. But I will say, as a human being, I am free to make mistakes. And that's the key word, mistakes. Because I got a lifetime to be here and to be in this body. I'm not talking about things that are done on purpose, because some things are not a mistake. People know right from wrong, and they know what they're supposed to do, and they know what they're not supposed to do, and they know what is they should know what is against spiritual law. Once you get to a certain age, you should know basic common sense and knowing right from wrong. But I feel confident in myself, and I feel comfortable with, living life and being open to making mistakes. Should I be careful and try to prevent certain, troubles from happening and things? Yeah. But I know even as a very grown woman, I'm going to make mistakes, because it's just a part of my nature. So I guess, this message was about, the unrealistic expectations of individuals in a spiritual community. While individuals are trying to advise and so-called uplift certain people, trying to help people, can also be to someone's detriment. Saying certain things to a mind that is not that strong, who feel as though they need to live up to someone's expectations and their perfection, is to that individual's detriment. So I think we should be careful. Anyway, y'all take it easy. God is love, and if you can't take God with you, you probably shouldn't go. Ashe, ashe, ashe.